Hey guys, today we are going to be talking about the best makeup releases of 2024 so far. Well, the best, at least in my humble opinion. And I've put on as many of the products onto my face as possible. So I'll do cutaways to show you me applying everything so you can see the products in action. If I didn't get a chance to apply to my face, we will definitely do some swatches and things like that. We'll get a close look at everything. So let's go ahead and start with my foundation. Now, this is not going to be a surprise if you've been watching me for any length of time now, but the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin Enhancing Tint. This is the foundation that I have on. I use the shade T4, and I love this tint. I loved it from the very first moment I put it on. My mind has not changed. I love the finish of it. I love the application of it. I love the coverage of it. It has a light medium coverage. It has a very thin texture, so I love the way it blends into my skin. I apply it using a brush, any kind of foundation brush, but I know a lot of you like to use your fingers and your hands to apply it. I do end up probably using more product because I am using a brush. The brush kind of eats up a little bit of the product, but I just love kind of like the seamless application of it. You will get more coverage if you apply it with your fingers. So just a tip there if you are looking for a little bit more coverage. But I love how this foundation wears throughout the day. I will get a little bit more glowy at the very end of my day, like we're talking after 8-10 hours of wear, but nothing where I feel like, oh my God, like I look like an oil slick. Nothing like that. Just a little bit more glowy in the oilier parts of my face. I have very dry skin, so my T-zone is just naturally just a little bit more oily, and that's where I'll see the foundation get just a hint more glowy. But again, nothing like an oil slick, nothing where I feel like, oh my God, I gotta like powder or whatever. It's just something I notice basically every evening when I go to wash my face. I'll be like, oh, I look a little glowy there, but nothing too bad. And in fact, because I have dry skin, I actually think it looks really nice. So anyway, I love this foundation. It just works beautifully, applies beautifully. The shade T4 works wonderfully for my skin tone if you use me as a skin tone reference. So that's the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin Enhancing Tint. I love it. I have not been able to put it down ever since I got it. Okay, now this next product may be a surprise to you because I have not talked about it that much, but every single time I use it, I'm like, wow. That looks great. This is the Say Slip Tint Concealer, and I use the shade 3. So I just applied it underneath my eyes today. I have a little bit of a cold. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I have a little bit of a cold, and so I have quite a bit of puffiness underneath my eyes. So I use this to kind of mask the shadows a little bit, and it just blends in beautifully. I would say for concealer, it has like medium coverage, so it's nothing too thick or too heavy. It's very natural. It doesn't sink into fine lines. It's very smoothing. It's even, I will go so far as to say, slightly filtering. I feel like I see a little bit of softness wherever I apply this. So this has a doe foot applicator, so super easy to apply. Oh, I didn't even show you the Lisa Eldridge packaging here. It just has a squeezy top, and I just squeeze it onto the back of my hand and use a brush. Sorry. Okay, back to Say. So it has a doe foot applicator, makes for very easy application, just dot. And then I like to, again, I'm a brush user. I like to use a brush. I usually just grab my foundation brush and I just sort of press it in wherever I've dotted it on. And it just looks beautiful. It lasts all day. No complaints at all. It is wonderful. So that's the Say Slip Tint Concealer. And again, I use the shade 3. Okay, well, I'm just gonna move in the order that I applied everything. So this bronzer, I was so excited when I heard this bronzer was coming out because the blushes in this same line were some of my absolute favorite from, I believe last year or the year before? Definitely losing track of time, but it is the RMS Beauty Redimension Hydra Bronzer. This is in the shade Beach Walk Betty. And I love it because it is the perfect tone for me. It has a lot of red in the undertones, which I love. It gives my skin tone a sort of sunburnt, sun-kissed feel instead of it looking either too olive or too orangey. The red undertone, again, for me, works wonderfully. And then the formula of these RMS Redimension products, they're like a baked gel powder. And so they just They just glide on beautifully, and they look like a powder that's just melted onto your skin. It literally kind of like dissipates onto your skin as you're applying it. It's like self-blending powder. Absolutely gorgeous. I love it. But because it is a baked gel powder, I would use a firmer brush to ensure that you're picking up product the way you expect to. If you use too soft of a brush, you're just not going to get anything. You may just sort of move the product around. You want something that's going to like really grip it. So I love the Sonia G fan brushes. I love the Refer powder brushes. I actually use this powder brush to apply today. This is the number 25 powder brush. I knew I wanted to kind of dust this all over, so I used a powder brush. Anyway, this is also refillable, which is great. So you can just pop it out from the back here and refill. So I've been using this bronzer nonstop since I got it earlier this year. So in terms of blushes, now this is not a new release in terms of formula, but this is a new shade, and this is one of the Pat McGrath Divine blush sticks, something like that. She has very long product names. I'm just gonna leave it there. It's a Divine blush stick, and this is in the shade Alluring Nude. So this is what I have on my cheeks right now, and it is just the perfect shade. I feel like it can go a little bit warm if I decide to put on maybe like a warmer lip or a warmer eye look. It can, I think, go very cool. In the tube, I feel like it tricks my eye. I feel like sometimes I look at it and it has like a mauve tint to it. Sometimes I look at it and it has like a peach tint to it. It's just a chameleon of a blush. And I love that because sometimes eyeshadows will surprise me. They'll warm up on my skin and I think, oh gosh, if I have too cool of a blush shade, it looks a little bit weird, at least to my eye. And I just love these blushes that have that tone that can kind of like shapeshift in a way. The formula is also really great. It is very emollient without it being too oily or too thin or too wet. I feel like I see plenty of pigment on my cheeks, which I know sometimes can be an issue when it comes to cream blushes, like your skin eats it up or whatever. I don't have that problem with these blushes, and I'm so glad she came out with this shade. It really is just perfect. Do you see how it looks kind of pink? Maybe peach. Maybe mauve. Just think it's so great. So that's the Pat McGrath Divine Blush Stick in Alluring Nude. Now for highlight today, I did end up using another amazing release from this year. This is the Makeup Forever HD Skin Face Essentials palette. So the concept of this like 12 pan cream product from Makeup Forever is not new this year. However, they came out with these new shades that incorporated cream blushes. So they have ones, which I have, but they have ones that are a little bit more like base product focus. Foundation, concealer, contour, bronzer, and some highlights. Well, they've incorporated cream blushes, and I just feel like, oh my gosh, now this is like the perfect travel companion because you pretty much have all of your face products here. So as you can see, I love using these for concealer, for spot foundation, if I just want to cover up some sunspots and call it a day. I don't want to use foundation like all over my face. I always reach for this palette. This contour is a perfect shade for me for contour. It's just cool enough. These blushes are beautiful, but today I'm actually using this highlight. So these two up here are very highlighty. This one, as you can see, has a little bit more pink in there, so it can be used as a blush topper, but I'm using this as a highlight today. I just used my finger and tapped it on. The products in here are so amazing. I don't understand what Makeup Forever did, this magic that they've created in these palettes. They're so good. You guys have heard me rave about using these as a concealer underneath my eyes. Very high coverage. They don't budge. They don't budge. They don't look makeup-y. You don't see it at all. It is absolutely seamless on the skin, and they last all day. And I live in a very dry climate, so sometimes when I say something lasts all day, I always wonder, is it gonna last? You know, I'm from New York. I'm like, would it last in New York City if I took the subway to and fro? I don't know. So I can only speak to my particular climate. However, I just traveled with this palette to much more humid places and it worked just the same. This is absolute magic. So this is definitely one of the best new releases of 2024. All right, we are halfway through. Let's talk about some eyeshadows. So I'm going to mention the Chanel Ombre Essentiel in Brun Talpa. I have been using this nonstop. You can see the pan looks really jacked up. I've been using this nonstop. You guys have seen me use it nonstop, so I did not put it on today, but the shade is what drew me in at first. I just love a satin metallic taupe shade. For like a one and done shadow, I just don't think there's anything better. It's neutral, it can go cool, it can go a little bit warm. This shade in particular reminds me of the Dior Cosmopolite. I think the Dior Cosmopolite is a little bit more, there's like a little bit more shimmeriness. There's a little bit more of like a shade shift when you look at it. I feel like the Cosmopolite had like a little bit more of like a peach undertone. Anyway, Dior like revamped that shade. So Cosmopolite is actually discontinued. What do they call it now? Beige Mitza, I think it is, which is very, very similar. So when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like Cosmopolite. It's like Beige Mitza. But I will say, I think the advantage that the Chanel shadow has is that it is very, very long lasting. It is a long wear shadow. I never, ever, ever see it fade on my lids. I don't generally have like creasing issues. Sometimes I do. I haven't seen it with this shadow, I will say. It's just gorgeous. It just performs beautifully, blends out beautifully, great pigmentation, the whole thing. So I love, love, love this formula and this shade in particular. It's so good. So what I do have on my eyes today is the Natasha Denona Golden Palette. I love this palette. I think it's really, really beautiful. She has such an incredible balance between mattes and shimmers in here. And then the shimmers have different levels of shimmer in there. Some are a little bit more shimmery than others. And this was inspired by her original gold palette. So there are some duplicate shades from that gold palette, which has been discontinued. So if you love that gold palette, I think you're really gonna love this. What it is missing from the original gold palette are those shades, I think, that kind of balanced out the palette. Like there was a peacock blue in there, and there was a shadow that I feel like had a bluish greenish shift to it. Am I making things up? I do know it had like a peacock blue, really beautiful shade in there. And it just made the palette look really interesting. It looked really, really kind of like balanced in a way. And as much as I loved that shade in there, I never used it. It just wasn't a shade that I used very often. I would use it. When I did, I would use just a little bit like along my lash line as kind of like an interesting eyeliner, but that's it. So I never really got into it. And so even though this palette, I think, looks a little bit more boring than the original one, I just think that personally, all of these shadows are a little bit more usable for me. There isn't a shadow in here where I'm like, ooh, that's like a novelty color. No, all of the shadows in here are very, very usable. And I really, really appreciate that about this palette. The formulas are all Natasha Denona formulas. I don't find any of them to behave more funky. I don't find any of them to lack any pigmentation or blend out poorly. They all work beautifully. So I love this palette. It is gorgeous, isn't it? All right, and the remaining are some lip products. So I have been using this lip liner nonstop. This is the Lisa Eldridge Sculpt and Shade Lip Pencil in the shade 1N. I cannot get enough of this shade. This is the most perfect grungy, grungy lip shade. And it's one of those shades, again, for my skin tone, my lip tone, that I feel like helps contour my lips. And I can wear like a little bit of a warmer lip color with this or a little bit of a cooler lip color with this. It just works beautifully. The formula is great. It glides right on, stays all day. I have no issue with that. It is one of those pencils that you sharpen, which I actually prefer because they don't dry out as quickly as the ones that you can like kind of twist up and twist down. I just love everything about this lip pencil, and it is what I have on today. And let me share with you what I am wearing on top of it, which is another Lisa Eldridge product. She has been killing it. Not that I'm surprised, but she really has been killing it. This is the Balm Embrace Melting Lip Color, and I have been wearing the Sweet Fig nonstop ever since I got it. It's just perfect. The formula is right on my alley. It's like a tinted, it's even more than just tinted. There's a good amount of pigmentation, but it's like a tinted balm. And anything to help my dry lips, I just love. And I love a tinted balm because it's just so easy to wear. You can throw it in your purse, put it on at any time. The balm is so comfortable. This particular shade, Sweet Fig, I can't get away from. All the shades that she came out with are really, really beautiful, but the Sweet Fig is perfect for me for every day. And it plumps up my lips, like that's how nourishing it is. It's so, so comfortable. By the end of the day, I feel like I've been wearing a lip mask. I just love it. It has a very faint, kind of sweet dessert scent to it, so it's very pleasant to wear. It's just perfect. And like the packaging is gorgeous. I feel like this is probably going to end up in my best of 2024 overall that I do every Mishmas. I feel like this is going to end up in it because I love it. I love it so much. And the other lip product I want to mention is the Armani Beauty Prismaglass lip gloss. I have been wearing the Nude Glow, which I think is shade number 6. Nonstop as well. This is kind of taken over. Sweet Fig has just come in, but before that, and I still love it, is this. You can see how much I love it, actually. You can see that I'm about halfway done. And I got this I got this actually after the Sephora VIB sale, so I haven't even had this that long. Anyway, I love, love, love this lip gloss. Let's do a little swatch. It has no fragrance. It has the most perfect finish to me. Now, I think they talk about this having like a really high shine. I don't like that really wet high shine, like glass like or mirror like reflect on my lips. I just don't like it. Every time I put on a lip glass like that, I feel like I look like I'm drooling. It's just not for me. This has the perfect amount of shine. Do you see how it's like slightly subdued? It's gorgeous. And this shade is so perfect if you want to pair it with the Lisa Eldridge lip pencil in one end. Perfect pair. It has just a little bit of iridescent shimmer just to give your lips like a little bit of interest. It's just great. I love the formula of this. I have actually quite a few shades. This is the other shade that I do wear, not quite as much as Nude Glow, but this is number 3. Maybe it's like Honey Glow or Peach Glow, something like that. Anyway, it's the peachier one. Here they are next to one another. But the formula is just so great. It's not sticky, it's not too shiny, there's no fragrance. It layers on top of lipstick beautifully. You can wear it alone beautifully. I love, love, love this lip gloss. So, I think that's it. That was my last product. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is it. Those are, in my humble opinion, the 10 best makeup releases of 2024 so far. I would love to hear from you guys down below in my comment section. What are some of your favorites that were released this year so far? Would love to hear it, especially if it's something that I haven't tried. I'm gonna have to run out and grab it. So let me know down below in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.